Year's Eve, if you're listening to this in real time. Happy New Year. If not, how are y'all doing? Just letting people come in. We are going to do a Q&A. I just want to see if anybody is available. Maybe y'all already started celebrating New Year's Eve. Hey, Moya. Are you doing anything for New Year's Eve tonight? I am going to probably be in the bed before 12 o'clock happens. I've reached that part of my life where I don't know if I'm going to make it. I wake up too early now to be up with the people at midnight. But I hope y'all are having a good New Year's Eve. What questions, if any, do you have? Or let me know, what are your goals for 2025? Like, are you graduating in 2025? For those of you who are on here, like, when are you going to graduate? Is it May? Is it June? Do you have a different date? Anything that y'all are working on? I've been recording content all day, and so I might start slurring my words in a minute because I've been talking. But I just wanted to see like what y'all was up to and do a cute Q&A. We can keep it to doctoral stuff. We can keep it outside of doctoral stuff. But any questions? Clarissa, hi, how are you? What's going on in your world? Are you doing anything for New Year's Eve? Any ceremonies you got going on? Claiming 2025. Are you claiming May or December or any other date for 2025? Rocksteady, what about you? When are y'all graduating? When are y'all gonna be done? It's something that I ask a lot inside of FYD. I ask people to tell me the month and the year they're going to graduate, and we do this repeatedly because this is with any goal. But the more that you say it out loud, the more you tell yourself, I'm going to do this, I'm working towards December 2025, right? Like your brain will then go to work to make sure it happens. I know a lot of people, especially this time of year, we're talking about New Year's resolutions, manifestation, law of attraction. If you're into that world, it does work, y'all. Like you have to say like, this is what I want, but you also put the work in. So it's not just making a vision board and hoping it comes true. It's like taking action towards that goal. Okay. At this rate, I'm struggling getting my last comp exam passed, supposed to graduate in August. I'm so glad you brought this up. And I don't know if you're comfortable, tell me more about what's coming up for the comp exam. But on January 9th, which is a Thursday, we are doing the Passing Your Exams Without Losing Your Mind workshop inside of Finish Your Dissertation. And I'm going to tell you why this is a hold workshop. It's because I find that like most people, when they are preparing for their exams, they just start reading. Like you get this whole list, and every program is different. But typically, right, a program will tell you to get your reference list together. And you'll start rereading things that you had in courses, because they say that we can ask you a question, right? That like we can ask a question on anything that's ever been covered in your classes. And if you're like me, the brain says, oh, I need to know every single detail. I need to know it by heart. I need to know it like the back of my hand, whatever cliche you use. And you focus all of your time on reading. But then you get to the actual exam and it's like crickets. One, you probably don't even remember what you read. Two, you're trying to figure out, I got all this information. How do I distill it down to answer this one question? And one of the most common reasons why people have to rewrite their exams, redo their exams, or they don't pass in general is because in all of their reading, in all of their writing, they never answer the question. They never explicitly answer the question. They say everything, but here's my clear, definite answer to the question. And it's because the way people talk about exams is like, oh, you gotta show us what you know. But they forget to make it clear. You have to answer the question, because nobody wants to read you just word vomiting to them everything that you read. They want to know, what do you think? They want a clear answer, a clear argument. And they want you to use readings to back it up. Now, I don't know if this is what's going on with you. I just wanted to go on a little side quest for a minute. You gave me an opportunity. But in this workshop, not only am I going to tell you how to prepare for the exams, I'm going to talk about how you prepare yourself for the exams, whether you have to go to the campus to do it. Is it take home? Most people have take home exams. My program just loves to, I think they have take home now, but when I was doing it, it was like back in my day, we had to go to campus and be in a room for 4 days. It was a mess. But anyway, we couldn't use notes or anything. So all of that had to come from memory. But yeah, I'm going to be telling you how to prepare yourself and how to respond to their feedback. All right, so let's see. We got May 2025, January. Come on, January 2025. Congratulations, doctor. Oh, you said proposal. I should read. Dissertation proposal and hopefully July 2025 defense. No, hopefully it's done. Why not a May defense? I don't know. You entered into my world, so now I got questions. Why not a May defense? My 3 goals for 2025 is complete my lit review, get my RV approval, and submit by May 2025, hopefully defend and graduate. It's done. What if it's just done? We don't need to do hopefully. So we're just going to tell the universe it's happening. Yes, I wrote out the question in practice with previous comp exam questions. That is the best method for preparing because it helps you get into the routine of doing the exams. I thank God I had to resubmit one part and need to meet the word count and give more clarification. Yeah, exams is also where you find out that you're not as explicit and clear as a writer as you believe yourself to be. Academic writing, I argue, is not natural to anyone, but it is a skill set. So when people say you're not a good writer or you can't write or anything of the sort, what they're saying is you need to learn how to write like an academic. Nobody comes out writing that way. That we're not taught that. Like through K through 12, it's a whole different style of writing. Okay, more synthesizing for the lit review. Came to the realization that I really never knew or was taught the science of doing a lit review. Essentially, I'm learning it now at this comp exam stage. Yes, if you're interested, I don't know if you're in a place if you want to go live together, but I will say this. We also will have a literature review workshop coming up. I just wanted to make sure that people knew about the exams one, but they go hand in hand for most programs. Even in a literature review, y'all, 2 people can read the exact same articles. 2 people can read the same books, could have the same topic, but can interpret the literature completely different. Hear me when I'm saying 2 people can have the exact same topics, read the exact same literature, and produce 2 different literature reviews. Why? Because a literature review is about your interpretation of the literature. Meaning, what do you think about what the people wrote about, what they researched? Objectivity, get that out your brain. What do you think about? So when you think about your topic and you think about the literature that you've read around it, how do you make sense of it? A literature review is really a persuasive argument as to why your study should happen. So whatever your topic is, why should we care about that topic in the way that you're presenting it? How do you answer that question in 30 to 40 pages of a literature review? Why does your study need to happen? Because similar things happen between an exam and a literature review with students in that you go into it because everybody's like, you need to include anything that's ever been published, and you go and you treat it more like a book report because that's what people told you to do, is to talk about everything that's been published around it. And you present this paper of all of these studies trying to make sure you track every article, and then people say, you didn't synthesize this is just summaries. And then you go, okay, so how do I synthesize? I already wrote this 30-page document. How do I synthesize it? And what I see a lot of students doing is then trying to like go in and address edits and trying to combine paragraphs, and then they get really frustrated. And I'm going to tell you, you have to start all the way over. It's going to feel like what I'm telling you is going to waste your time and your effort. It's not. But when you start over, 1, you are allowing yourself to trust that I remember what I read, because your brain will remember. But 2, trust that you are someone who has something very clear like to say, and you have a perspective. And if you allow yourself to just put the words on a page, if you've been around me, you know I love a good shitty paragraph. And the shitty paragraph is to get us started. So you can just say like, I'm put the words on a page. I'm going to let editing be editing later, but I'm just going to give some words on a page because you're trying to get clear on how do I view this literature. If I had to, I often tell myself like, am I going to explain it to my mom or my grandmother? How would I explain it to them? And I allow myself to just put words on a page. Once I have exhausted all that I know, then I move on to editing those words and refining them and putting them into paragraphs and making sure it's one main idea per paragraph. And every paragraph has a topic sentence, and I'm defining my terms. Because after you do that part, which is going to take you a while, what was 10 shitty pages is now a solid 20 pages. But even after you get through structuring it in paragraphs, now we got to make it even, we got to finesse it a little bit. We got to start adding citations and formatting. And when you do that, your 20 pages are now 30 pages. It happens in stages. And as you get to that last draft, you have a synthesized, beautifully written literature review. But what students are doing, and what I see other people doing, is you're such in a rush to get it done that you want to be able to sit down, like you probably did your class assignment. You want to be able to sit down, write the literature review, and have it good to go the first time you sit down, and you don't want to come back and look at it. And especially when you're in a situation where you're doing your exams and it feels like heightened and all this pressure and you're running out of time. You're like, I just got to get all the information, and you don't give yourself enough time to refine and format and edit. That is most likely 9.9 times out of 10 why people either have to rewrite or they don't pass. It's like the question, and then they don't give themselves enough time to edit. So I don't know if you said anything in response to that, but that's what I have found. Okay, for those of you who are coming in, when are you graduating? And what is going on? Like, what goes? What are you working on when it comes to your doctoral process? What are we working on? What y'all got going on? George, how are you? What do y'all got going on for January? What are you going to get done by the end of January? What is your goal? Inside of Finish Your Dissertation, we do this thing where we focus on one goal every 30 days. What is your goal for January? What is going to be the one thing, come hell or high water, by the end of January, you are going to have this completed? It's going to be done. Is it your exams? Is it your literature review? For Kristen, it's going to be this proposal. The whole proposal is going to get approved. I'm going to claim it. Kristen, I'm going to say before January is over, you're going to have a defense date. I'll claim it for you. I'm working on chapters 2 and 3. How is that going, feedback conversations? I'm now trying to balance the time to write and thought dumping. Yeah. Is it that when you say balance, is it that you, where is the pressure around time coming in? Is it that you feel like you're spending too much time brain dumping? You don't know how you're going to bring it all together? Is it a clock? Maybe you actually have a deadline that's coming up really soon. Proposal will be done by the time we get back from break, period. 2025, getting this chapter 5 discussion section finished. I love it. Chapter 5 can be one of the most challenging chapters to write. Because you like, listen, I done said all I could say now. It's like, it reminds me of my dad. Whenever I'm talking to him and he gets to a point in the conversation, he'll be like, okay, well, I done said all I could say. And then he just hangs up. And it makes me laugh every time because I'm like, you know what? That's real. I appreciate it. But that's the kind of energy that I feel like people have when it comes into chapter 5. They're like, listen, I done gave you other chapters. I'm exhausted. I don't want to do this anymore. And it could be challenging. But you've been zooming through this, George, so I have all the faith in you. I just finished my master's in December. Congratulations. Looking for doctoral programs. If you are comfortable, yours truly, Kay Hayes, tell me, why do you want to go into a doctorate program? What's your goals? What are you going to do after? Or what are you thinking that you're going to do after? I'll take that. I'm 40% done with the list we came up with. I'll be working on the literature review during my work time on Thursday. I know I owe you some messages. I've been recording content all day. I'm gonna get back to them. And I already know it's gonna be done. This lit review and methodology chapter almost took me out, but I had to do, like you said, just right. Whew. Is it because, tell me more about why it almost took you out if you're comfortable. What about it almost took you out? Chapter 3 is my favorite. Like, I love it. I love chapter 3. I love going back and forth with people about their methods chapter. I'm like, let's really get to it. Ask Kristen. Like, we had like 2 or 3 conversations just going into the weeds of it and making sure that I love for everything to be in alignment. Because y'all, I'm a for real qualitative researcher. Okay, I can't speak for the other people, but things gotta be in alignment. Okay, everything gotta match. There needs to be a logic that is happening from your theoretical, your conceptual framework, from the methodology you choose. And yes, you need a methodology. Qualitative research. I'm going to say it's not a methodology. You need a methodology. You need methods, the individual ways you're going to get data. We need to know what you're going to do with that data. We need to know how does that, when you go to analyze that data, how does that map back to the conceptual framework, to the methodology, to the purpose statement, to the research questions. Everything has a flow. Your committee may not get into those details because they might not be as proficient in qualitative research, but y'all, those things matter. I kept getting frozen. Like, what am I supposed to say? You know, like, if you like me, like, I just want to do what I want to do. Stop asking me why. How is it going? Are you still getting frozen with things? I was just recording, hey Chris, I was just recording a podcast episode on just freezing. And it really comes down to, we know what we want to say, but we are afraid that if we say it, somebody's going to say it's wrong, it doesn't make sense, or, right, it's like your whole doctoral journey is going to go down the drain if you do it, if you make one wrong move. And so usually I find when we're frozen, it's because it's like, oh, can I say that? Or we're second guessing and going back and forth, but I don't want to put words in your mouth, so you let me know. That's been my conversation with Chad as I've been filling in stuff we talked about to make sure everything is lining up. Yeah. I decided my outfit for my defense too. Oh, I can't wait to see. You got pictures? My master's thesis was about microaggressions in the military. Ooh. I want to focus on microaggressions and maybe programs in corporate America that focus on the impact of microaggressions in the workplace. Okay, so since we're here, and, you know, it's New Year's Eve. Why not? Okay. I want a PhD just for the research of it. Maybe not to get in academia. You. That's perfect. Because I was going to ask, why are you not doing that now? Why are you not finding a way to start talking to the military about microaggressions? Or maybe talking to something adjacent to the military or a branch or a private sector and being like, let's talk about microaggressions. What if your master's degree is more than enough to do the work you really want to do and help the people you really want to help? I know this is a whole like doctoral account, but listen, if you don't need to get it, let's not go through the trauma of it all. If you can already go talk to the people who you want to help most, who need your help and your expertise that you already have, like, why can't we just start that now? Why we gotta do all this degree thing? Now, if you want the degree, listen, go get the degree. But if you only are doing it because you want to be able to say like, hey, I can help you with this internet, we could do that right now. Okay. And people could teach you some research, right? We could help you with the research part. You don't need to go into nobody's program. I'm doing much better now. I just started writing in chunks. Tell me, if you're comfortable, feedback conversations, what is your topic? Tell me about your topic. I'm working on developing a code book. That's my other favorite thing. Okay, I love to come up with codes and definitions, and I get I gotta catch myself when I'm making a code book, because I'm like, okay, I need this definition to be so spot on that everybody would agree that that's what this code means. I sometimes need somebody to come help pull me out of it. But yeah, what are people's topics? I am curious. Hi, Dr. Bryant. How are you? Okay, let me take a sip, y'all. Chris, how is Georgia? Wait, are you still in Georgia? What are you working on? What are y'all working on? Tell me what's going on in your world. Okay, I will just start talking. There was somebody who said, okay. Dr. Bryant, did you ever release your book if you're still here? I don't know if you're still here, but did you ever, it wasn't affirmations. It was boundaries, wasn't it? Did you ever release that? Writing in chunks. So you were frozen, you're writing in chunks. I don't know if feedback. Oh, yeah, okay. Black women in lower to middle management not receiving sponsorship opportunities in the workplace. So I'm going to just say a bunch of questions. You let me know if this helps. Hey, Lily. So Black women in lower to middle management. And I know this is Instagram, so it's hard to type all these things. If you let me know, what's the particular environment of middle management? I was just helping, this reminds me of Dr. Tiffany Alexander. Her study was Black women in middle to like director and beyond in higher education and student affairs. There's their relationships and how were they sponsorships or mentorships, and how did their sponsorship relationships help them to excel in their career. Beautiful study. She did it in 6 months. It was a great time. So my questions to you is, and I'm going to say, I'm just using your topic for an example. So everybody, I want you to think about your own topic. The number one place that we start is, do I have a clear problem? What I mean by that is, right now, how you wrote this problem is that they're not receiving sponsorship opportunities. The logical question then becomes, why does it matter if they receive sponsorship opportunities? Why do we care about Black women receiving these opportunities? They got a job, don't they? Now, I'm going to say some things in a way that people are going to be like, girl, why are you saying it this way? Because I'm trying to elicit an emotional response from you. Because when you emotionally tap in, your brain will start to give you responses. And I want you to listen for how you're responding to my questions. And I want you to write exactly what you're saying as I'm asking you these questions. So why does it matter if Black women have these, especially in these lower to middle management, okay, they should be lucky they got a job. Why should we care about their career trajectory? Why shouldn't we just focus on helping them to build the foundational skills they need to move on up? Helping them get better evaluations and performance reviews. Why do we care about them having a sponsor? What is a sponsor? Is a sponsor someone who's within the organization, outside the organization? Does it matter if that sponsor matches in any salient identities that these Black women have? So another way of saying that, does it matter that the sponsor is another Black woman? Or could they be of any race or gender, nationality, ethnicity, whatever you want to put in there? What are the outcomes of people who have sponsors or sponsorship opportunities? How do we know that that's a better, overall, if that's a better strategy for people who want to move up? And I'm assuming this is about the moving up. And how do we know this is a good thing for Black women? How did you come to talk about sponsorship opportunities connected to Black women? Why Black women in lower to middle management? Why not any other level? When we start asking questions like this, and I'm not asking you to type all of that, I'm trying to get you to think. As you think through those questions, that's what the reader is asking. Academic writing asks us to answer what sounds obvious. It's obvious to you because it's your topic. To the reader, they're going to be like, what? What does race have to do with this? What does gender have to do with this? What do you mean sponsorship opportunities? How is that different than mentoring? Why doesn't the professional development that the organization provides, why is that not enough? Why can't people just go talk to their family members or friends? These are the questions that the reader is going to have, and it is your job in writing to answer them. So your topic may not be Black women and their sponsorship opportunities. Maybe you have a different topic, but are you being explicit in that way and answering people's questions? Those exact questions I said to myself, and they have helped me begin to pen my paper. What will happen if they don't have sponsorship opportunities? Is it really going to negatively impact them at all? What would happen if they never got these sponsorship opportunities? What will happen if this problem is never resolved? And what do you think should happen? What is your view? If you could wave a magic wand, what would you say should happen, and what level of detail should it happen in? Like, what exactly does it look like? Because however you answer that question should naturally lead you into your purpose statement for your project. Hi, Ashley. So I've been asking people, when are you going to graduate? What do you have going on right now currently in your doctoral process? Once you have a problem, right, and then we start going into the purpose. So let's say you're like, it's your personal opinion is that the organization should be responsible for making sure all employees, especially Black women, have at least 2 to 3 sponsorship opportunities that look like one-on-one mentorship, a conference, like a national conference, and I don't know, a professional development opportunity of their choosing. Let's say that's what you think happens. And you're like, because usually when people do that, they fare better in their career. So the purpose of this study is I'm going to go explore the experiences of Black women in lower to middle management who participate in a national conference, have a one-on-one mentor, and do something extra as professional development. I'm going to talk to them, do some interviews, and analyze their data. You see how that would naturally start to like lead into what you're doing and why you're doing it? Hi, Heather. If you're still here, when will you graduate and what do you have going on in your doctoral process? I'm just doing an open Q&A for folks. Your literature review then becomes you defending your view. So then the literature review becomes, what are the experiences of Black women in lower to middle management? How did they get there? What motivated them? How did they find out about the position? Was it that they found it on a website, or did they have a mentor that helped them to identify it? Like, what do we know from the literature about how Black women get into those positions? What do we know from the literature about their experiences once they're in these positions? Do they like hunger for more opportunities, but they don't speak the language? Or are they seen as like, I don't know, lacking some proficiency in skill or something that would be improved if they had these professional development? So from the literature, what do we know about them already? The next part would be, what is sponsorship? How is that differing from mentoring? What are some examples from the literature of sponsorship opportunities? What does the literature say about people who participate in these particular types of sponsorship opportunities? Then you bring that together towards the end of the literature review. You say, what do we know about Black women's experiences in sponsorship opportunities? This is where the literature might get a little bit scarce. You might be like, I'm having a hard time finding it, but this is probably where you're going to have to write more of a conceptual paper where you're combining the literature that you have from the section about Black women's experiences and combining that with sponsorship opportunities literature, and you from your brain is saying, if I put these two sets of literatures together, this is what I could reasonably conclude, and these are the unanswered questions, and therefore that is why for this study I am focusing on whatever one of those gaps are. And your theoretical or your conceptual framework then may give you some more structure or guidance around, this is what a sponsorship opportunity looks like. This is how we know. It could be something about development of lower to middle management positions and what they need from the organization. You could take it from that approach, but you want to be able to make sure these things line up. So I hope that is helping. Okay, literature review, you defending your view, writing this out for myself for Thursday. Yes. So now my brain is not working, Kristen. When you think about, right, your study, it's like, we talked about it, right? Like, so we have farmers markets. So the literature says farmers markets is one of the number one solutions for addressing food insecurity. So then the literature review would take it from the top. What is food insecurity? Why does this matter? Why is it a problem? Why is it a problem we should care about? Why does what are the interventions from public health, the top interventions they would say like would address food insecurity, and you would name the different ones, and right, farmers markets would be there, but you would name the different ones, give a brief description of each one, but you would then make the argument, but farmers market seems to be the top most popular one. Okay, what is a farmer's market? What typically happens at a farmer's market? Where are these farmers markets usually located? And then that's how we start getting into the conversation around, well, they're usually located in places that are, I don't even know if this is proper term, so excuse me, but have a higher rate of food insecurity, or what we would call like food deserts. And these neighborhoods usually look like this for this demographic, right? And then get into the accessibility thing. And then you say, but the interesting thing, even though farmers markets are increasing, we don't have any or much data to support their usefulness, or if they're positively impacting the community, the individuals of that community, or their health outcomes. And then this is where you, researcher Kristen, says, I wonder if it's about design, because we know from the literature when a farmer's market is designed a particular way, then it usually leads to better health outcomes, or at least more participation then leads to better health outcomes. How are farmer market operators deciding how to design their market, where to locate it, and how do they know if they're doing what they think they're doing? So that was a little clunky, but hopefully that makes sense. All right. Any questions? Anybody else? What do you have going on? When are you graduating? What's on your 2025 list? Anything I could help answer for you? I know this is a holiday, but I just thought I would check in to see how the people are doing. Well, feedback, conversations, if anything comes up, let me know. Send me a DM. Kristen, of course, you could always reach out to me. I don't think there's much people. I'm just going to go then and rest my voice, because it's starting to give out from me talking all day. I did like 6 podcast episodes today. I've been doing a lot of talking. You are welcome. Yeah, y'all, like, this is the time of year you got to check on people. Y'all enjoy your New Year's Eve as well. And whether you're going to be asleep, you're going to be enjoying it, I'm sending all my love out to y'all. Okay, I will probably be back on here on Thursday. So happy New Year, everyone. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye, y'all.